After that, we get a one-on-one with Alexe, and y'all, this was one of the worst outfits I have possibly ever seen on a one-on-one date with this show. So she was wearing this like white cross top. Hi everyone, my name is Dimitri and welcome back to DimitriTube. The Bachelor, night 2, let's talk about it. As always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and like, subscribes really help me out. Just one thing before we get started, I want to talk about the Rachael Kirkconnell video. I thought about making a whole video for it, but it really does not even call for a whole video. For me, the interview reeked of, but he's 6'5". In the interview, Rachael mentioned just multiple red flags in Matt James, and she just excused it. There's a song by Sabrina Carpenter, and congratulations to her. She just won 1 or 2 Grammys, I don't remember, but she has a song called Lie to Girls, and one of the lyrics is, "You don't have to lie to girls. If they like you, they'll just lie to themselves." And that's what I thought the whole time during this interview. I was like, Rachael throughout most of this relationship was just lying to herself. And not only that, this interview was a masterclass in why women should have deadlines in their heads for engagement, marriage, babies, etc., etc. When it comes to dating, I think it is perfectly okay to have a timeline in your head, but you don't have to tell the man that. We need to be engaged within a year. We need to be married within 3 years. Whatever your timeline is, have that in your head, but you don't necessarily have to tell that guy. And if you pass that deadline and you're still not where you want to be in the relationship, you just got to break up with them. Matt and Rachael found each other on a dating show, and as y'all know, this show is a short period of time. So after the show ended, they wanted to date a while. And at like 28 minutes and 30 seconds in, Rachael explains that dating for them was fun. They were in no rush for like engagement, marriage, yada, yada, yada. And for this show, that is very common. A lot of couples meet on this show and they end up dating for a year, 2 years before taking it more seriously. That's very common. That's not what I have a problem with. But at the end of year 2, they got more serious about engagement and the process to getting married. And Rachael specifically says that for the engagement, she wanted to be completely surprised. And she also did not want to force a timeline on Matt. So throughout all of year 3, she was like waiting around for an engagement and it never happened. And this is coming from a man who 3 years ago during their season said he wanted to get engaged to her. He wanted to be married to her. He wants to start a family, have kids with her, yada, yada, yada. And this is why I'm saying Rachael lied to herself, because she never really explained this, but all of year 4, they were dating and no proposal was happening. So like I said before, she was just lying to herself. She was waiting around for a proposal that was never gonna happen. Next, Rachael also mentions that they never lived together. Apparently half of his stuff is at her house, but they never lived together, but they always traveled a lot together. And Rachael says it's because he's very religious and did not want to live together until they were married. So this is a thing I'd like to call Christian when it's convenient. So it's not okay to move in together before marriage, but it's okay to sleep together before marriage. Like Matt James was clearly picking and choosing what part of Christianity he wanted to follow. And again, I hate to say this, Rachael was lying to herself. You are 3 years into a relationship, no proposal, not many plans for a marriage, you're not living together. Like, so many red flags should be going off. And at this point, you should probably give him an ultimatum or just break up with him, because whatever your timeline is, he's not reaching it. And please do not think I'm blaming Rachael for the failure of this relationship. That's not what I'm doing. But a lot of what she was saying, it just felt like,
oh, we kept it fun for 2 years. Oh, he didn't want to move in together. Oh, he never proposed. But, you know, he's 6'5".
Next, the interviewer is Alexe Cooper, and this is on Call Her Daddy podcast. And y'all, she is a terrible interviewer. Like, I don't understand. This is like this is possibly the #1 podcast on Spotify. Like, people listen to this every week. And like in real life and on social media, women constantly say that if someone listens to the Joe Rogan podcast, it's a huge red flag. But to me, a woman listening to Call Her Daddy podcast, it's just as much of a red flag, if not more. At one point in the interview, Alexe Cooper apologizes to Rachael for like what she's been through. And she says, I'm sorry, it was on his terms and you're waiting on him and he's in control. And by the way, this is at 37:14. I watched it on YouTube. So then Rachael responds, it's his timeline. What am I supposed to do? And then Alexe responds back. She basically gives her the benefit of the doubt and says, well, it shouldn't be that way. A woman waiting on a man to propose. Yes, it sucks that you want Matt James to propose to you and he hasn't proposed to you yet. But also at the same time, you're in control of this car too. If he's taking too long to propose to you, then break up with him. Also, Rachael could have given him an ultimatum as well. Now, I will say I'm not a big fan of ultimatums. Like, resulting to an ultimatum for a proposal is not ideal for most women, and I don't really like that idea either. But at year 3, if he hasn't proposed and you want to know what's going on, I don't think an ultimatum is a bad route to take. And this is why I'm saying Alexe is a bad interviewer, because she didn't even propose an ultimatum or a timeline even as an option. She was just like, men propose and it shouldn't be that way. So you're saying you just want chivalry to be dead. You want all women to start proposing. You want women to start asking men on dates. You want to just get rid of all the chivalry, because I know you don't. I know that's not the answer to this. And y'all, the other thing I really did not like about this interview, so it was an hour and 40 minutes long, and it was a lot of I felt like, I believed, like it was a lot of feelings and not a lot of facts, and I really did not like that. And last thing I want to mention, Matt James broke up with her in Tokyo right before she was taking a 30-hour flight home back to Atlanta, and like, that is crazy. Like, please don't break up with me right before a 30-hour flight. Like, let me at least be in America when we break up. And I'm okay if we're in another part of the US, fine. Like, I'll cry on the plane in the United States for like 6 hours or less, but don't break up with me right before a 30-hour flight. And that's all I got. Let's talk about the episode. The episode starts and we get a basketball group date. I think I'm going to talk about the date, and then I'm going to talk about the important one-on-ones and the drama. I think that's how I'm going to do this. For the basketball date, Grant brings in a bunch of kids and they do a bunch of warm-ups and basketball drills, and then after, they divide the contestants in 2 and they play 5-on-5 basketball. And at the start of the group date, Grant pointed out 2 kids specifically to give like a short speech, and their names were Atticus and Journey. And y'all, I rolled my eyes so hard, like why would a parent do that? So normally on The Bachelor, they do the Bachelor Bowl and they have the contestants play football. But this time they played basketball, I guess because Grant used to play basketball and it makes sense. But basketball is literally like the worst sport you could have these contestants play, especially women. In general, dribbling a basketball just takes a lot of hand-eye coordination. And not only that, they should have been playing half court, but they was playing full court. And that is a lot of running. Like if you've never played basketball before, it is a lot of running. And then I don't know who chose the teams, but the purple team ended up having all of the tall contestants and the gold team had all the shorter ones. So the purple team won by 16 and the gold team was only able to get 1 goal. They only got 2 points, and that was like pretty unfair. They really should have like mixed up the teams a little more. And Chloe from the winning team ended up getting MVP, but I really think Serafina from the losing team should have gotten MVP because she was the only one able to get a goal for her team. Anyways, moving on to the night portion, and I will mention the drama that happened earlier. I'm just gonna kind of package it all together so it makes more sense. First is a one-on-one with Chloe. I did not like her dress, but I did like the color. That powder blue looked really good on her. But when it comes to her and Grant's connection, y'all, they have 0 connection. Next is Natalie. She had a great one-on-one with Grant. Grant told her about how the kids spoke so highly of her. They talked about the possibility of kids, and also the possibility of having tall kids, and their conversation was just like very natural and organic. But one read that I do have is that Grant and Natalie are both tall, and they talked about having tall kids and it'd be perfect for them to play like volleyball or basketball or whatever. So don't get me wrong, being tall helps, but you also have to have athleticism. Keep in mind, y'all, Grant never made it to the NBA, so he would be better off having a kid with like a Simone Biles type. He'll bring the height and she'll bring the athleticism. You gotta, again, I know it's the genetics lottery, but we gotta play to win. Next, during the night portion of this group date, some of these dresses were really skanky. I'm not gonna point anyone out specifically, but multiple of these dresses were kind of skanky. Next, I absolutely loved Juliana's updo. In general on this show, we frequently get hair down, but this time we got an updo and it was a very well done updo. I do love to see updos with certain outfits. Like updos are meant for more like elegant looks, and it's just, and I don't know, it's just nice to see people change it up. And during Juliana's one-on-one with Grant, I realized, y'all, Grant is a freak. This man was giving her a hot oil hand massage during their one-on-one, and y'all, she was gagging. Like she was ready to lay it all out right then and there. In general, Grant just really likes her and the chemistry was just off the charts, and I was just so taken aback that he was just giving her a hand massage during a one-on-one on a group date. And I really want to go ahead and say Juliana is top 3, but she's kind of messy. She was hanging with Allie Joe, and I'm just like, she probably could be top 3, but I just feel like she's messy and she hangs out with too many messy people. Like, I don't know if she'll make it that far. Next is Zoe. Y'all, Zoe is a little full of herself, but she also lacks situational awareness. And at first, I thought she just didn't care. I thought she was just completely in it for Grant. She'll throw girls under the bus, doesn't care. But no, I think she just truly lacks a good amount of situational awareness. And like, we do not know her full story, but I would not be surprised at all if she was like a total nerd growing up, and then like at the age of 21, she discovered hair and makeup. During the basketball group date, the women are doing like a slam dunk contest or something, and Zoe forfeits her chance in the contest and then steals Grant for a one-on-one, leaving all the kids and the rest of contestants like kind of standing around awkwardly until he gets back. Zoe stole Grant away in a really weird moment. I wish she had chosen like a better moment to steal Grant. And then also when she stole him away for a few minutes, she didn't even make good use of the time. Like, their conversation was very like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, if you're gonna steal someone away, make good use of the time, you know? So then fast forward to the night portion, and a lot of the contestants do not like Zoe, but for some reason Allie Joe was the one to call her out. Like, there was no specific reason other than I guess she rubbed Allie Joe the wrong way. So Zoe at one point says Chloe earned her time, and then Allie Joe claps back, well, you didn't, you just stole Grant away. And then the other women, not all of them, but a good amount of them, like co-sign Allie Joe. And then later on, Zoe has a one-on-one with Grant, Allie Joe steals him away, and then Zoe steals him back. And then when the two contestants get back to the other group of women, Allie Joe calls her out and says, what is your problem? Are you that insecure and you need that much attention? Long story short, Zoe just crossed the wrong one. Allie Joe does not play that, and Allie Joe did not take it well. And sorry, I forgot to say this when I was filming. I'm also pretty sure a producer gassed Allie Joe all the way up. Like, it has to be. Like, there's no way she can be that mad. And the crazy part is Zoe had a one-on-one with Grant, and y'all, they don't even have a connection. Like, he's not even feeling her. Overall, I don't think Grant is a very good liar. Like, it's pretty clear who he likes and doesn't, and Zoe ain't it. And not only that, Zoe stole him like 3 or 4 times in one episode. That just looks so thirsty. And a lot of this just seemed very producer orchestrated. Like, I'm pretty sure production is gonna force Grant to keep her a few weeks because, like, as always, we need a villain. But she's a very lukewarm villain, especially coming out of Jen's season. Jen's season had some villains. The villain won on Jen's season. And last thing I want to say about this group date, Natalie ended up winning the group date rose, which made sense. And then Allie Joe seemed to have a slight connection with Grant, but we really didn't see a lot of time with them together. Next, if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and pound that like button for the YouTube algorithm. After that, we get a one-on-one with Alexe, and y'all, this was one of the worst outfits I have possibly ever seen on a one-on-one date with this show. So she was wearing this like white cross top that just had a lot going on. She had the oversized light blue jeans, very Gen Z, with like soccer sneakers, and I was just like, wow, you wore this for a one-on-one? Like, y'all, that was a choice. After that, I was like, send her home. I've seen enough. So for the date, they go to the mall. It's called the Beverly Center. I think this is actually like a big mall in LA or something. I don't know, don't quote me. Never been there. But for the date, he drops rose petals on the ground. They do a little bit of light shopping. They ride toys, eat ice cream. They jump on beds. And like, this is a fun date. But me personally, I wouldn't want this date. Like I said on my last review, the dates in LA tend to not be that great. And also, if I'm on this show, I want a glamorous date that I probably could never do myself. And this is very much a date you could do yourself. Outside of the mall closing specifically for them, you could do this date yourself. Like, I'd be okay doing this date in the daytime with other people around it. The date would still hit the same for me. And then during the date, Alexe talks to Grant about how her grandparents raised her. She really was not specific about the situation. And overall, I did not see much of a connection between them two. And I'm sorry, y'all, I just gotta say this. Grant is a kissing whore. Like, he loves to kiss, and like, low-key, I'm in no place to judge because like, I'm the same, but just watching him kiss basically all the contestants on this show, it's a little jarring. Like, we haven't had a lead kiss this many people in a while, so seeing him do it, it's kind of wild. Next, Before I move on to the second group date, in the comments, let me know below, what do you think of the contestants this season? So don't get me wrong, I think the drama this season will be really good, but these contestants, they are insecure, they are feisty, and they don't seem to be very fun. Also, a lot of them seem very competitive too. And again, it may still be because it's early in the season, but I just feel like we're not getting enough lighthearted moments. And then all of the sisterhood we're seeing is women aligned with each other to throw other women under the bus. So at the moment, it's not looking real good. And not only that, Grant at the end of the episode seemed to have eliminated a lot of the fun contestants. After that, we get a group date with Mario, and y'all, nobody knew this man's song. So they play Let Me Love You, and I'm pretty sure I know every single word to that song, and none of these women knew that song. Like, production really did some editing magic here, because nobody really knew that song. And clock me in the comments, but I think this is the first time that I've seen an R&B artist on this show. Usually it's like country, and I was excited to see an R&B artist, and I wish this show had more of them on here. So them having Mario was cool, but the only read I do have is like Mario's kind of irrelevant at this point. Like, I do wish they had a more current R&B artist. Next, I don't know who was in charge of casting these group dates, but to me, all of the women who are kind of full of themselves and I think would have done very well on this date were on the basketball date, and then all the insecure girls were on this date, and they would have been better off at the basketball date. Juliana should have been on this date because she can actually play piano. I think Serafina, Allie Joe, Natalie, I think a lot more of the women who were on the basketball date would have excelled at this one. Maybe Chloe too. Like, they would have excelled more at this date than the women who were actually on the date. The only exception is Carolina. She, out of the whole group, she was probably the only one who didn't just spiral from insecurities during this date. And sorry, I don't know if I said what they have to do on a date, but they had to write a song, learn a dance, and perform it in front of a live audience. And before the contestants performed, Grant performed a song as well. And I actually like this. A lot of people read him on social media, but I actually liked it. So a lot of people on social media are saying Grant is not here for the right reasons. He's just promoting a mixtape, which he is. But a lot of people in general were just turned off that he performed during this group date, and also that he performed on his one-on-one with Alexe as well. So I really appreciated the fact that Grant got up there and performed before the contestants, because a lot of the contestants were nervous, were scared about going up there, and Grant went out there as well. Most of these leads just make the contestants perform. They're not going to get up there themselves. So I thought it was a really good look that he wasn't just making the contestants perform, he was willing to perform himself. Because honestly, the last time I remember a lead performing was like Juan Pablo. The contestants were dancing at the mall and Juan Pablo danced with them. Like, he did the routine with them. And that was like 12 years ago. So I hate to say this, but everyone did like a pretty terrible job. Nobody could remember the choreography, and then nobody wrote a song. Everyone did like a 3-line poem. I thought Bailey did a good job and she should have won because she did a bit more than a 3-line poem. She actually performed and she tried her best to like stay on beat. And Latia, she was terrible, but she sold the fantasy, so I kind of applaud her for that. Now, Carolina ended up winning the group date, but I would have given her 3rd place. But in her defense, she was like the only other contestant who wrote more than 3 lines for her song. And of course, at the end of the day, she straddled and made out with Grant in front of everyone, and it rubbed them the wrong way. After that, we move on to the night portion. And yep, it's that time outfit of the episode. For this week's outfit of the episode, I'm giving it to Carolina during the night portion of the group date. Carolina is serving us this black, either leather or faux leather mini dress. It's mostly backless, but like with a strap. And then she pairs it with a low ponytail and some really cute earrings. This outfit is just an absolute serve, and she immediately stands out. Like, there really weren't that many good outfits this episode, but I absolutely love this dress. And overall, her fashions, to me, are very 1970s inspired. And for this outfit, I do have one read. So she pairs it with a pair of either silver or gold like go-go boots. I really would have preferred a stiletto over these boots, but I understand the look she's going for. And regardless, it's still a great look. And now that I think about it a little more, I think a strappy heel would have been really like chef's kiss with the dress. But also these boots work too, so I'm not mad. Moving on to the night portion. So one of the weirdest things happens. So at the start of the night portion, we do the toast, and then after the toast, we're just like hanging out for a second. Like none of the contestants are like, oh, can I steal you away for a second? Grant, can I pull you for a one-on-one? Like literally nobody was trying to pull him. They were waiting on Grant to make the first move. And normally that never happens. And again, this is another reason I thought the contestants on the basketball date should have been on this date, because on the basketball date, Grant kept getting pulled left and right. Grant, can I steal you? He was getting pulled left and right. And on this date, nobody's trying to pull him. And I'm okay with chivalry. I'm okay with Grant choosing who he wants to go with on a one-on-one first. I'm okay with that. Like it helps avoid all the infighting between the contestants. And I didn't think the vibes were off. I think they were just waiting for Grant to steer this ship and he's just hanging out. So Grant pulls Rebecca for a one-on-one and he asks her if the vibes were off. And this was the weirdest interaction. Grant, you are in charge of this boat, so you need to drive it. So if he's pulling Rebecca for a one-on-one, he needs to focus on her and how she's feeling and how to move their connection forward. But he's just focusing on the overall vibes. And personally, I thought that made him look a little weak. And Rebecca responded well. She was super diplomatic about it, but overall, she sounded very like granola hippie to me. But this is just my opinion. Vibes is just a trendy word and it is way overused. And I feel like a lot of people just say the vibes are off versus stating how they're really feeling. Like, I'm not gonna dive deep into that. That is like an entirely other video. But the word vibes is just so overused. For example, I'll ask someone how a date went and they're like, oh, the vibes were off. And like, what the does that mean? Like, explain what was weird or what happened on the date. And if you didn't have a connection with someone, that's one thing. And I would rather someone say that, oh, we just didn't have a connection. But by you saying the vibes are off, like what does that mean? And also there's no like room for improvement. Like if you just say, oh, the vibes were off, it doesn't really help you in the grand scheme of things. Like what specific characteristic did that person have, or what specifically happened on this date that you did not like, so you can avoid that in the future. But if you say just the vibes were off, you can't learn anything from that. And overall, the show and a few of the women were alluding to the fact that Carolina kissing him in front of everyone was awkward, which could have been the problem, but also it almost just seemed like everyone was tired after a long day of filming, so I don't know. So moving into the other one-on-ones, we get a one-on-one with Rose. Her and Grant definitely have a connection. After that, we get a one-on-one with Latia, and then we get a flashback to their first one-on-one last week, and Grant had told her, you don't get told no a lot. And apparently, Latia took that personally, which you can, but he was clearly just flirting with her. And this was just so crazy to me because if y'all didn't know, it's usually like about a week between dates. So Latia was just sitting and marinating over this for a week. Like Grant probably totally forgot at this point. And it was clear he was just flirting with her. If you've been watching my channel a while, y'all know I'm all about picking and choosing your battles wisely. And this is just a battle I just don't think she should have chosen. So Grant apologizes, said he came off wrong. And then Latia responds that she had an ex she was with for 3.5 years. They were on and off, which I thought was a little sus. And she doesn't specifically say, but I'm pretty sure they broke up because he didn't want to get married. And y'all, I'm not going to beat this with a dead horse. We talked about it with Rachael Kirkconnell. Like, if these women want to be married, why are they staying with men for like 3 to 4 years when they don't want to get married? It's giving,
oh wait, but he's 6'5".
So when it comes to Latia and Grant's connection, I'm not seeing a whole lot of chemistry. It just seems like just two pretty people. And also Latia just seems very hypersensitive to me. And like, I don't know if that would be a good match for Grant per se. I don't know. We just don't know enough about him. And lastly, we get a one-on-one with Carolina. Grant basically tells Carolina she did nothing wrong. And I agree, Carolina did not do anything wrong. She shouldn't have straddled Grant and made out with him in front of everyone else. But that's not necessarily wrong. After that, we move on to the cocktail party and the rose ceremony. And there's one-on-one I want to mention is the one with Beverly. Beverly asks Grant what emotionally available means to him. And Grant responds, to speak freely with the one you love. And just overall, they just had a great one-on-one. They didn't say much, but it was a good one-on-one. And then Bailey has been spiraling like all day, but there's not really a clear reason as to why. She just says because she has to be vulnerable, which didn't really make sense. And having to be vulnerable is a reason to spiral, but to me, it didn't really justify her spiraling this much. When she actually got a one-on-one with Grant, she started crying and she's like, oh, it's fine, I've been crying all day. And I'm like, girl, we are on week 2 in this process and you're telling the lead that you've been crying all day. That's just not it. And just a couple more things to wrap up this review. Alex's dress was cute, but I didn't like the neck thing. And then Latia's dress was cute too. I didn't love it, but I did think it was cute and different. And then we go to the rose ceremony and Ella completely broke down crying. Like, oh my God, she was so upset. And during the rose ceremony, there really were no upsets except Alicia got eliminated, which was kind of surprising. I thought she had a really good connection with Grant, but I guess it wasn't that strong. And also, I will say, I don't think she was messy enough with the other contestants. If she was a little more messy, she probably would have stayed longer. And that is the end of the episode and the end of this review. If you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.